I can't believe it's allowed to happen, but a coach not from the Kyle Shanahan tree had success, won the Super Bowl. No relation to the tree. Nick Sirianni, the Eagles, unbelievable. History will not remember what a at least well history might remember, but the box score history, 40-22, does not tell the story of a game that felt like you could start if you were an Eagles fan, you wouldn't say this feels over in the second quarter because you rightfully would have um, too much fear of jinxing it, but you could tell pretty quickly that game, it's like 10-0, but it should be 21. The Eagles are kicking their ass. They can't move the football. Um, Mahomes can't get free. Just a complete ass kicking by Sirianni, by Nick Sirianni's squad. The fact that they've now been there basically, in less time than Shanahan, he's been as many times he's won the championship. Now they'll lose Kellen Moore. They'll have to replace Kellen Moore. That'll be a challenge. But they get Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio's not going anywhere. And I asked some people on I just put it out on the YouTube comment, just a question like, who's the favorite for next year? It's got to be them. I'm not surprised that they won. Pretty quickly, you can start feeding into any of the storylines from the season pretty easily. And the Chiefs really fed into the one that, they were getting by the skin of their teeth many times this year, all those close wins. That'll be one of the stories, I'm sure, Monday, if you're listening to this or watching it Monday or consuming other stuff Monday, was, the day that told the Chiefs, quote unquote, luck just couldn't last, and it didn't. The Chiefs, and I do think there's something to it, like all those close wins, and then they couldn't even get into a close game. But there were some things that you look at over the course of the year and say, there is nothing close about these two, except their defensive coordinators should cancel, and the head coach and the quarterback are so superior for the Chiefs that it should be the difference. And it wasn't. It wasn't. And it was a great argument. I just saw Jalen Hurts' post-game interview, and he said it was very classy, as you'd expect. He said defense wins championships. This was a great argument, this Super Bowl, to draft offensive and defensive line. You watch that game, and it might make somebody, if you're like me, if you're thinking about it from a Niners perspective, and we don't have to talk about everything from a Niners perspective, but if you're like me and you thought, Tyler Warren be a pretty good pick at number 11, you watch a game like that and you go, forget that. Go defensive line. Get the best lineman on either the offensive or defensive line that you can find. Because your quarterback, no matter how good he is, behind a bad offensive line, can't overcome a good defensive line. And that's the story of this game, or at least that's one of the stories of the game. It's never just one story. But the way Howie Roseman so quickly retooled, rebuilt a team on a weekend that Deebo demanded a trade or asked for a trade, or at least the news came out that Deebo wants a trade. That you'd love to have done it at a time when you could really turn Deebo into something else from a trade perspective. But, I was just looking at it. The Chiefs this year were 10th or 11th in point differential in the league. That's not great. They were 59th in point differential. There were 1, 2, 3, 4. There were 4 teams in the AFC that weren't only better than that, but were at least around double. The Chargers were almost double it, whatever. Denver was more than double it. Baltimore and Buffalo were about 3 times point differential. Detroit was, 1, 2, 3, 4 times it. Philly was basically 3 times their point differential. Tampa was 2 times, so that might invalidate the whole thing. Minnesota was 2x. Washington was like 1.8x. And Green Bay was more than 2 times Kansas City's point differential. I mean, so in the end, I think one of the postscripts of the season will be you look back and you go, the right team won. And I didn't feel like, coming into the year, I'm going to have to go back and read what we were talking about coming into the year. But I know what I was talking about was the Niners. It wasn't Philly. And for them to have the total kind of reconstruction from a coordinator standpoint and run it back with Sirianni and kind of, early, and Burkhardt said it, like early last year, he was in trouble. And then in the offseason, it was not a foregone conclusion that he would be back after last season in Philadelphia. And that's not people like, oh, that's just the media talking. No. I think internally there was a conversation there about whether or not Sirianni would be back. And, here's the one I started thinking about tonight is Jalen Hurts going to have like this? I said I didn't think, and then I forgot about Ozzie Newsome earlier in the week, but like a GM to take two different coaches and two different quarterbacks to Super Bowls and win Super Bowls, and not one of the four is a Hall of Famer. But as we know, the second you win a championship, especially as a quarterback, and your quarterback with staying power, which Jalen Hurts, I said he wasn't a Hall of Famer, but there's no question he's their franchise quarterback and has staying power. But now you get one. You had this almost is a second. Like if this had been a second where you beat Mahomes twice, then that's Eli. Eli didn't get in on the first ballot, nor should he, but he's going to be a Hall of Famer. So, Russell Wilson got his. Some of these guys get theirs early. Like Russell got his early. Brady got his first one early, then kept winning them. Roethlisberger got his early. So it's not as early, but it's early enough, and the team's good enough that the door's not closed. I mean, far from closed. There's just so much career left for him. Super Bowl MVP, deserved. He made some throws today that were just so I mean you have to what can you say other than they earned it, they deserve it. And I think Jalen Hurts just really kind of blew the roof off the possibilities of his career, because if you're just going to have a good now the challenge is going to be doing it with a different offensive coordinator. So I don't know what they have in-house, another offensive coordinator for him, but clearly they know they lost Kelsey. Like, to me, that's one of the underrated, really impressive parts of this. You felt like after their last Super Bowl chance, Kelsey retires, and they kind of lost their guy. And then they just replaced him. And 2 years later, they went back and won it. So they've already done some really hard things on offense. And then they add Saquon's clearly got good football left. So I know some people will feel this way, and I understand it. Here's a comment. Hurts didn't do much. I mean, I can't look at a box score where you're 17 of 22 for 221, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. But I can't look at that box score and say you didn't do much if you're 17 of 22 against Steve Spagnuolo in the Super Bowl. I think he did. I think Jalen Hurts did a lot today. I think he did a lot today. Comment guy, what does Sirianni do? He's a leader of men. Yeah. You can't deny. He was, I can't deny. Not you can, I'm not put on somebody else. I can't deny. He had his career, his back against the wall. And whether he wanted to hire those coordinators or somebody else hired them for him or forced them upon him, whatever. You still got to make that work. That's not easy. That could easily go sideways, and it didn't. Comment, Brock throws plenty of deep balls. This is such a dumb narrative. Well, I didn't bring it up today. I wasn't going to bring it up today. But no, they don't. Don't tell me about the numbers, Jackie D. The numbers are misleading. The numbers are yardages, not types of throws. The throw that the Eagles hit today on the touchdown, the dagger throw, as Kevin Burkhardt called it, that the ball that Hurts threw, the catch that Devontae Smith made, that over the top, it takes two to make that play work. It takes receivers who catch balls like that and run routes like that, and quarterbacks who throw that ball over the top like that. And the Niners have not had either one. And don't currently. They don't. That is not a strength of theirs. Don't make me. I don't want to yell. I don't want to argue. I like Brock Purdy tonight. I don't want to argue about Brock Purdy, but they don't do that. And the numbers that say they throw deep balls are talking about a different kind. They are grouping all high yardage plays together. That specific quick strike over the top, receiver gets a step, put it in the basket. They don't do it. They don't do it. They don't do it. Now, one of the guys that we really highlight who doesn't do it is Deebo. And maybe he's out. Comment guys in shambles. Not a go for your boy tonight. That I didn't enjoy that. I didn't enjoy that. As I said, I thought it'd be I'm holding no Nick Sirianni stock. There's no question about that. Never held it. There's no doubt about it. He's got a ring. Shut up. He's got a ring. I'm glad for my own sake that it didn't turn into officiating gate again. I did think, by the way, I was prepared to talk about it. I did think that it was offensive pass interference early in the game, but you just accused me of being biased. I thought you put the hand on the face, you push back, the defender clearly loses. I can't help but think of the Niners draft every time I see Cooper DeJean making plays. I think another part of this that makes it particularly painful and difficult now for the 49ers, as stacked as the AFC is with quarterbacks, with Mahomes, with Allen, with Lamar, with Herbert, with Stroud. I'll stop there, but that an NFC team won and it wasn't you. Not surprised it wasn't Detroit, but next year, we'll see. By now, it's probably up. If it's not, it'll be up soon. The odds for the Super Bowl that the Niners host. You'd rather, to me, if you're not going to win the Super Bowl, you'd rather the Chiefs win it in your stadium than another NFC team. You'd rather the Chiefs win it in your stadium than Philly, Detroit. It's not going to be Detroit, but Detroit, Washington, Green Bay. Not going to be Green Bay. The Rams. I don't know what's going on with the Rams, but it's a great opportunity, but it could also lead to great pain. And I think this should be pretty painful for the Niners to witness, given that they played in this game against that team last year, and that Chiefs team that they played last year, the Eagles made them look like a totally different franchise, a completely different team. If the Niners had just played that game, they wouldn't have been trying to hire Steve Spagnuolo last year. Steve Spagnuolo, unhireable by them last year because he just kicked their ass in every facet. That Super Bowl has to be a very difficult pill for the 49ers to swallow. And it doesn't matter. I'm talking about, well, who's going to replace Kellen Moore? Yeah, that's a challenge. You'll encounter that challenge with your ring. It's just, they did it. James on the stream says, Jackie, in GFF, that's Guy Football Focus, which I still am considering changing the name of the show to. Let me know what you think of that. Now that we're in the full off season, again for the second year in a row, considering changing the name from the Guy Haberman podcast or show. Which is, I don't know, I don't love it, but give me your thoughts. In GFF, Guy Football Focus, deep throws and deep balls are not the same, separate stats. Yeah, I mean, I hate to use this term, but the go ball is what we're always talking about when we're talking about that, right? Comment from Russell, all the Niners know is pain unless you're 58. Well, you don't have to be 58. If Sirianni retired today, he'd be a lock to go to Canton. Highest winning percentage of all time in the Super Bowl era and a Super Bowl champ and another Super Bowl appearance. I disagree. He would not be a lock to go to Canton. Is not a lock to go to Canton. But he wins one more, or he goes, like, to me, like, now you win one and you go to a couple more and you just are there for 10 more years and you do a bunch of winning. I mean, hell, if Sirianni goes to, there's all these different combinations, but if he goes to like one more Super Bowl and maybe 2 or 3 more NFC championship games, he might be, or he would be, just keeps coaching for another 10 years, wins a bunch of games. The Super Bowl brings everybody out in terms of, we'll see what the rating for this game ends up being, but the score will hurt it. The fact that it wasn't a close game will hurt it. But I was talking to a college basketball assistant coach, just talking about stuff. Who you like? Oh, you were watching the Super Bowl. You guys can do for the Super Bowl. Who you like? Whatever. And this is a guy that, not like you and not like me, like most other people, does not watch. Every interview. He's got a job. He's doing other stuff. He's like, I really like Jalen Hurts. And I said, yeah, why? Thinking he watches a lot of the NFL. He's like, just you get benched in the national championship game and you come back from that the way that he's come back from that. What's not to love? Easy guy to root for. Simple as that. And it's true. It was already an all-time career arc and an all-time story to get benched, and not to get benched. Like, it's one thing if you're a freshman quarterback and you get benched and they got to go to the older guy, but to be the older guy and you get benched for the young guy at halftime of the national championship, whether it works or not, and then you transfer, and then you get drafted a little later. It's not like you become a top 10 prospect. That in and of itself, and then you have the career. You have you go to the Super Bowl. You sign the contract that he signed. That in and of itself is an all-time career arc. But then you win a championship. You think about how much has been made out of these little stories, like Michael Jordan was cut from his varsity team. Wasn't the story like, well, they didn't let freshmen play varsity? That became the thing of legends. Nobody's Michael Jordan, but he is a Jordan Brand guy, and Jordan Brand ran a really cool ad. Love, Hurts. They ran a cool ad. I just saw part of it after the game. I would just say, like, I don't think you can overstate the career arc, how wild that career arc is, and how easy it is for people to root for that career arc. It was just amazing. Comment from Gammon, super chat. 49ers need to put together an O-line that can handle the Eagles D-line. Mahomes' Super Bowl performance has improved the optics on Brock Purdy. Okay, let's talk about the first part. Niners need to put together an offensive line that can handle the Eagles' defensive line, yes, and also need to put together a defensive line that can create pressure on Jalen Hurts. Does Mahomes' Super Bowl performance improve the optics on Brock Purdy? No. Brock Purdy has to go earn his stuff throughout his career. He's got to go do it. I don't love this. To me, there's a place for it. I'm not opposed to, look, sometimes the game is hard for other really good, excellent, all-time great quarterbacks. So sometimes it's okay that it's hard for Brock. It's hard for everybody. Yes, fair. And I do think when you watch guys, it's just great context. But Patrick Mahomes has accomplished so much in his career that him looking bad in the Super Bowl the conclusion is not, well, see, if Patrick can look bad too, then Brock can look bad, and it's okay. Brock's got to go earn the equity that Mahomes has. He doesn't get to borrow Mahomes' equity. Now, if your point is, hey, just because you look bad in the Super Bowl doesn't mean you can't be a good quarterback. That's correct. Comment from James, super chat. For NFC teams, it should be utterly jarring. Yeah. It's last week I did a couple videos, one of which held up well, one of which did not at all. The held up well one is the Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman is standing in the Niners' way because he is retooling fast. He can do it and do it and do it again with different coaches, different coordinators. He can really pull the strings on a franchise. The didn't hold up well one is I can't wait to talk about was Deebo, about Deebo. Me saying, looks like Deebo's got nowhere to go. So, I can't wait to talk about that because we'll get to that. But comment from Richie Rich. I can't believe we drafted Pierce all over DeJean. Line of scrimmage wins. Trenches win the game, no doubt. It all wins the game. Like the trenches got to hold up and the quarterback's got to make plays. And, I always kind of chuckle it. I mean, I like it, the debate, Jimmy's and Joe's or the X's and the O's. It's all that stuff. The best teams generally have the best players and great coaches. They've got all that stuff. A comment from Brandon. How did the Chiefs team make the Super Bowl? They didn't even show up to play. That was embarrassing. They should be apologizing to their fans. I think if you're a Chiefs fan, they're allowed to show up drunk to Thanksgiving once. You're like, well, you paid for the house. So it's not a great look, but thanks. Carl with a comment. Oren Burks getting a ring before Kyle Shanahan. Pain. I need that song to pull in right now. I think you missed my super chat. Somebody said, did I? Oh, no. Okay, I got to that. Man. Comment from Charlie. You guys act like DeJean would change a thing for us. I don't know. I kind of think I'd be a starter. Pretty good player. He'd find a way onto the field. You know what you love about him too, about Philly, you notice he returns punts. Now he was great at in college. But you'd love to see now Ricky, like I said it before the season last year when he was still healthy. That's one way to say we think this part of the game matters is you put a good player back there. You put a starter back there, It's one of the many things that Niners can do. So is Sirianni better than Shannon? Asked Kellen. I say no, but he got a ring. I say no, but he got a ring. What are you supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Eat it. That's it. That's all you can do. All right, we can talk more about this. We can talk more about this Super Bowl because this is Super Bowl reaction. I don't want to go much longer, though, without talking about Deebo for a second because it happened Super Bowl year, Super Bowl weekend. I think it's been pretty underrated. No, I maybe somebody said this and I've missed it, but I think it's been pretty underrated how funny Deebo's trade request is. Schefter reported Deebo requested a trade during his exit interview with Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan granted he and Tory Dandy the right to go seek a trade, which is funny because the 49ers already tried to trade him during the draft. They didn't like the offers. I mean, I'm not really sure what to say other than it makes it far more likely that I am very wrong when I said I think Deebo will be back next year. I said it most of the season, said it in the preseason. I said it this week. Not 100% he'll be back, but I think it's more likely that he'll be back than what most people think. That's been my consistent line. And that looks like it's going to be very wrong, which is fine. But I don't think it has much to do with his request. They know the situation they're in. And I've seen some people say, like, well, how could you trade him or cut him pre-June 1? Trade him and take a, $30 million dead cap hit this year and pay Brock. I think Brock's contract, there was the story that they're very close to getting something done. I forget who reported that the last few days. But, that the way they pay Brock will also be related to what they're going to do with Deebo. And if they take a $30 million dead cap hit on Deebo this year, because they buy not going to be a third round pick, y'all, because they buy a pick, essentially, they pay a lot of money to buy a pick in trading Deebo, then Brock won't, Brock's big cap hit won't be in year one. If they do it post June 1 and they save $5 million and Deebo's 10 million or 11 million dead against the cap this year and 21 million dead against the cap in 26, then Brock might be a little more front loaded in year one. But make no mistake, the request was already in. The Niners were already, they've been thinking about it. Was he not reading Mike Silver? I'd like to request a trade. Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. No, we hadn't thought of that, but since you guys are requesting it, go find one? For what? What are they going to get? I'll tell you this right now. What would feel like a win? A win's not the word, but it feels irresponsible to even say the third round pick. That's why? Why would you do that? How do you look your owner in the face? Now, unless you are, no, that's irresponsible. A fourth round pick? A player? I don't. It's crazy. It's crazy that it's ended this way, or it might end this way. I think the difference between this trade request and the last trade request is that the last one felt rash and immature. This one feels mature and professional. And what's different about it, too, is it comes at a time when the Niners are open to it. Hell, they were open to trading Ayuk. They were ready to trade Ayuk. They at different points were ready to trade, or at the same point, both of them. I don't think you're getting Myles Garrett for Deebo. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's a weird trade. But, yeah, it doesn't look good. It's a weird end. Comment here from, well, I'll get to that in a second. But it's going to financially hurt a little, but they've cleared a lot of space. I doubt it affects their team this year in terms of roster building. But we'll see. We'll see. It's you do if you were team Myles Garrett, you definitely come out of this Super Bowl bigger team. Myles Garrett. Charlie says a lot of you guys will change your tune when Pearsall has a good season next year. That's on the Cooper versus Ricky. Yeah, I mean, he ended the season with momentum. Ricky Pearsall. I saw somebody say in the chat, I haven't had this much optimism hitting the offseason in quite a while. Yeah, it is a good comparison to last year. Like, are you more or less depressed than you were the last season? It's the age-old question, would you rather get blown out or lose close? I've always said I'd rather lose close than get blown out. But, getting blown out is obviously the Chiefs got blown out, but getting blown out is, winning 6 games, not sniffing the playoffs. Losing close is what happened to the Niners last year. Which one's more painful? I'm in team better to have loved and lost than have never loved at all, which means like I'd rather have watched the Niners lose the Super Bowl tonight than their 6-win season. When you're like, oh, God, that's crazy. Like, well, you'd rather watch a 6-win season? If I told you right now, your team, whoever your team is, wins 6 games next year, oh, but you get the 11th pick, or they're going to go to the Super Bowl, but they're going to lose. I think you're insane if you say, give me the 6-win season. Like, just so now, and then I will Men in Black you, flash your eyes. You'll forget that they lose the Super Bowl. So the pain will be real. You won't know that it's coming. The pain will be authentic when they actually lose the Super Bowl. But anyway, yeah, look, Ricky Pearsall did finish the season with momentum. For me, if you say what holds you back on Pearsall, a couple things. One, I am optimistic on Ricky. Like, I liked the pick. My concern is the frequency with which he got hurt in the preseason. I was there when he hurt at Niners practice when he hurt his shoulder, a shoulder that's given him some issues while blocking in a team period. So it was physical, right? But it wasn't like a game. So that's concerning. We had some soft tissue issues. So that's concerning. I thought physically, I'd love to see him take a jump in terms of his like in-game physicality. But speed is like speed, whatever. You don't need to be Xavier Worthy speed to be impactful for the 49ers. So, and the other thing, if we're rehashing like every take on Ricky, and again, team optimism on Pearsall, but if I'm rehashing every take, one was, I thought, and I'm basing it some on games and some on practice, I thought his catch radius would be bigger than it was. Not to say he didn't make a couple great catches kind of out of the radius, but I thought, like Ayuk, for not a huge receiver, has really long arms and a really good vertical, so his catch radius is huge. And I thought, Ricky would catch more stuff kind of off his back hip, behind the head, whatever. Not to say he didn't. So maybe he can't, like, needs more reps, needs consistency, all that. Hopefully he's healthy enough to get it. So I'm still optimistic there. A comment. 49ers, comment from Benali. 49ers accidentally finding Purdy in 2022 hurt Deebo. He made his money taking Jimmy's short passes to the house. Purdy hunts for big gains more often. He unlocked Ayuk, but made Deebo less valuable. I think Deebo made Deebo less valuable. Like, if you're taking deep shots, then the guy who catches the ball around the line of scrimmage, he still got Kyle Shanahan still gave him plenty of opportunities. If he's taking more deep shots, which this year they definitely did, and just generally you're right, versus the way that Jimmy played. a little less fear-based. But if you're taking deep shots, it should open things up for Deebo. I thought Deebo, and his career's not over, but I thought he'd age kind of like, and this is not a perfect comp, but kind of like Anquan Bolden, who was never a big separator, but he was always so physical at the point of the catch. Crabtree, and maybe that's not a great comp. Yeah, weird end for a guy who weird end with him in it, like not the franchise, but him and just the way everybody feels about him. Ayuk is John Dowd, aka Barry Bonds, says Ayuk is a beast. Keep him. Well, they have no choice. Is it funny you look back and in the end, Deebo versus Tabor Pepper over Jake Moody? Most of you guys were taking nobody's side on that and mad at everybody. Comment. It's a good comment. This goes to show you don't need Mahomes, Lamar, or Josh Allen to win a Super Bowl. Just build a team the right way with a focus in the trenches, and you're good to go. And I don't even say your recipe. If your recipe is our quarterback is so good he bails us out, it's a bad recipe. Now, you'll take it sometimes, but it's not really a recipe because you can't put it down in a book. You can't pass it down to generations. You can't repeat it. You can't build towards it. Yeah, what a job. A comment from Kevin. Anquan Bolden never had a beer belly wearing an Eagles jersey. Question here, super chat. How does GFF grade Mahomes, the interceptions, etc.? Well, the real answer is that GFF didn't grade the game. GFF is not me saying, usually I mess around with it, but truly GFF was born, if you're new here, of me going to practice in 2023 and grading every throw from Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold and Trey Lance. And the reason I did it is because I thought there were a lot of to say somebody has an agenda is to say like it's truly consciously predetermined. I don't know. I just thought there was a lot of differing opinions on quarterbacks, and that some of what was happening on the field shouldn't be an opinion, should just be a fact. And so that's why I used the PFF scale. Initially, I used golf scoring, but ended that quickly. I used the PFF scale to grade every single throw, just individual throws, and then let's add it up in the end. So that's what PFF is. And that's what me, Guy Football Focus, GFF became. It's not me just watching a game and saying, here's what I think. Like the point of it was remove any quote unquote thinking and just go play by play and then add up the numbers at the end. That said, I mean, you got pushed on the second pick. The first pick, the scale goes, was it go -2 or -2.5 to +2.5? I have to check the GFF handbook. But they were all terrible picks. they were bad picks. So the grade. Remember, the grade is just like -2 to +2. It's not like A, B, C, D. But I give him an F. a -7. Producer Connor, too buzzed to join via live stream, Had a good day on Prize Picks though. Rushing 4 was better than exciting blitzes today in the DC matchup. Isn't that crazy? Great point. Connor needs you need like a special little icon here that says also in charge of the show. Not in charge all the time, but it's a contributor. Yeah, rushing 4. It goes back to the conversation about Robert Saleh and the Niners. Like, we need blitzes. You need blitzes. You need blitzes. You need blitzes. Or you just need supreme talent, good coverage, and there's nothing better in football than pressure with 4. Really, there is nothing better if your team can get pressure with 4. I mean, that is it's as good as it gets in football. Pressure with 4. Now you're playing with the lead. You're running the ball. Quarterbacks throwing it into a bunch of. You can mess around in the back end. Let your big dogs eat. Let your horses run. Super chat, 5 spot. Looking at the NFC, the only team I see stopping the Eagles again are the healthy Niners. Other than that, the Eagles can easily repeat. I don't want to say this today. They won the Super Bowl today. They do have to replace their offensive coordinator. And we have seen the offense has been feast or famine with them, depending on who's calling the plays and who's in charge. So I wouldn't say easily, but yes, I mean, they will feel like the favorites. Why not? Quarterback in his prime, DC coming back, ton of young, good talent on defense. Saquon, I mean, yeah. Definitely. Comment, could have used from North Fork All-Star. Could have used some of those holding calls a year ago. Tonight should have shown the 49ers front office that Myles Garrett is worth anything that it takes to get him. Wait, there's a wrench in Connor's name? I didn't see that little icon. Somebody said that means I don't see it. Oh, you guys are seeing it. I'm not seeing it. It must be on YouTube. I'm not seeing it in the software that I'm using here. Okay, good. That means, administrator, fixer. Get behind the scenes. It's crazy. What was Saquon today? 2.3 yards a carry. Now, the threat of Saquon, 25 carries. He's playing with the lead, too. I mean, they know he wanted to run the ball. I have not looked at the box score yet, other than Jalen 17 at 22, 221, Philly 21. Both teams were awful on third down. Didn't matter. Average yards per game. The Chiefs had a greater yards per play than Philly, but game was over when they started moving the ball, so ignore that. Another classic, guys, where the quarterback that throws for more yards loses. Four for 4 field goals for time of possession, 36 minutes to 23 minutes. Honestly, it felt more. Comment, the 49ers melted down this season just like the Eagles did last season. You think this shit's on accident? I don't know what that means. I'm assuming, are you talking about the pain, the fallout of losing a Super Bowl? So I don't know what that means, but I'm sure it means something. Does this Symmetry 7, does this question, does this lock Andy Reid out of the running for the greatest of all time coach, or can he redeem himself? Good question. We talked about this on the last pod because Connor done some research, just compiled some stuff. And, I didn't think even with a win in this Super Bowl that he would surpass Belichick. So I didn't think he was going to become the greatest of all time anyway, is the point. He's now, what is he now? Two of 5 Super Bowls. Or is that 3? Is that 3 of 6? What's that total number now? Three of 5. Is it 3 of 5? So now it's 3 of 6. I can't count on Andy, but no, it's Belichick 6 of 9. Their playoff wins are about the same. So I think you got to stick with Bill. So he can, I said this the other day. I never knocked Brady for losing Super Bowls versus, Montana went to less but never lost. So I don't. If you prove you can win them, and even like the Bills who didn't, I don't discredit you for going. That still means you beat most everybody in the race. 3 of 3 all time. Thank you. So Andy's now 3 of 6. Bill is 6 of 9. So of course he can redeem him. He can win next year. I mean, winning a lot is hard. Responding to losing is also hard. They're both hard. The success is hard, however you did it. If you were the down and out, had the pain of failure and you overcome it and you build yourself back up, that's impressive. If you won and you have a target on your back and you still win, that's impressive. And the thing about, Kansas City is still going to have a target on their back. Oh, this is this comment earlier about it's a conspiracy theory. I don't have the script comment. Okay. It's funny, people, I was thinking about this today with the Taylor Swift story, just the whole thing. Like, people think the only way a lot of this stuff can happen is if it must be scripted. And it's like it's like you don't look at your own life or the lives of people around. Just look at a regular life. It has some of the craziest stuff in the world happen. Every day, you and I and people like us have insane coincidences, cases of wild luck, redemption stories, things that if it was football, you'd be like, oh, interesting storyline. Taylor Swift, interesting storyline. You know what Taylor Swift, the storyline is to Travis Kelce? It's just Travis's life. Now, it's just these things happen. Think about how many things there's something in your life. You're like, that's insane how that happened. I can't believe that happened. It's insane. If it happened to an NFL player, you'd be like, oh, I don't know, storyline. But it's just your life. An insane thing happened for whatever reason. It's like, I don't know, little too on the nose, NFL. I mean, there's only 32 teams. Something crazy is going to happen to a few of them. Too much money on the line for randomness to be allowed. It is impossible to block out the randomness. Impossible. There's too many characters. Even Truman Show got exposed. It can't be done. There's too many humans involved. You want less randomness? There's only one way to do it. Eliminate the humans. if you have humans, you will have randomness. It cannot be stopped. Get rid of the humans. You know? All the self-driving cars, people are like, oh, no, I don't trust them. If you only had self-driving cars on the road, everything would be fine. Accidents would go way down. Why? Eliminate the humans. Like, I don't know, that car crashed. Yeah. Okay. Sometimes the computer shorts. For the most part, though, your Excel spreadsheet does way better math than you. Maybe one time the thing crashes. It's still going to do better math 99 million times out of 100 million times. So, so I love people like, I don't know, that self-driving car crashed. Yeah, 9 trillion humans crashed. Everybody crashed. Who hasn't crashed? So I don't buy it. It's too hard. Michael says, I've seen iRobot. Which one's that? I thought that was the Roomba. I can't believe. Oh, Will Smith. I can't believe the Mission Impossibles are still going. I haven't seen a Mission Impossible truly. I mean, seriously. 25 years? They must be huge. They're making them big budgets. Tom Cruise still doing them. But part of it, I'm not smart. I can't follow Mission Impossible movies. Give me a Bond. Commented, Spags happy just being a coordinator. Is he going to get a head job somewhere else? He wants to be a head coach. He said it last year after the Super Bowl. He wants to be a head coach. At this point, I'd rather Kellen Moore leave than he leave. Just not that many jobs. So, all right. Thank you, Deebo, for the story this offseason. What a run. What do you need to get for him? Aaron Rodgers is going to be a free agent. Okay. New Orleans? Weird Super Bowl today. Wasn't it a weird Super Bowl? People are saying it's a weird Super Bowl. If you look at the Super Bowl, it was weird. Weird. It's weird Super Bowl. I'm not even sure why exactly, other than, blowout. It's like I got a lot of takes built up, but we'll get to that later. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging. Appreciate y'all. Oh, by the way, the 262 hats. 262 hats are for sale and have been and will continue to be. They had that weird ad today, by the way, Tubi. The Hey hats are also up for sale. These make great outdoors hats, golf hats, really cool. They're snapbacks, but a good little kind of athletic material. You go to heyguy.co. You can also send an email to either guy@heyguy.co, or you can just go to heyguy.co, check out the hats. There's an email form there. You can just send me an email that way as well if you want to send an email to the mailbag, or just an email that maybe you have a topic idea, that sort of thing, and we work it in. All right, y'all. Appreciate it. Talk soon. Have a great week. Happy off season. Happy draft season. Happy preseason.